A fan of the channel sent me a DM on Instagram saying they were down big after buying picks from a handicapper who promotes his consulting services on Instagram. His account name is Your Daily Capper. He remains faceless and likes to take pictures with his car outside of his neighbor's house. I asked this person if they had access to all of the picks for an extended period of time, and sure enough, they did. Since I've made videos talking about sports betting before, I figured this would be a good chance to analyze the actual performance of an alleged top handicapper. I received the picks from the dates June 2nd to October 12th, and I did not remove any data. These were all of the picks I was given, and I used every date inclusive in the final tally. My source forwarded every single email he received for the daily picks between the two dates that spanned 133 days. I wrote every game down in a Google spreadsheet in order to track. I then found every single game on OddsShark to evaluate the number of units gained for the games where he picked the winner. You should be proud of me. I went a few hours without checking out cute girls on my Explore feed while I searched for every game. And then of course I couldn't miss Jamari's video making fun of Jackson Mahomes, who's quickly becoming the funniest clown associated with the NFL. And now I'm nervous showing you my internet search history. Back to the gambling. Real quick for understanding, when I say 1 unit, that represents 1% of your bankroll. With gambling, you have an initial bankroll that you will use for your bets, let's say $100. For good money management, you'll bet 1 unit, which is typically 1% or $1 in this example per game. When I say units, just think of it as a percentage of the money you have. An Instagram account at @RunMyBets reached out a while back and has been helping me with evaluating the odds with sports betting. He showed me how to go to aceodds.com and input the moneyline number to spit out the decimal number for payout. The reason why this step is necessary is because I tracked Your Daily Capper's picks based on risking 1 unit for every game. If his pick lost, then you'd be down 1 unit because that's what you risked. If you won though, you don't technically win 1 unit because of the odds. As an example, betting on a great baseball team to beat a bad baseball team comes with altered odds. You would lose 1 unit if you lost, but you may only win half a unit if you win, because they're heavy favorites to win. Your Daily Capper does a lot of moneyline bets, which is where you're just picking the winner. If you're picking favorites, there's obviously a cost to that. We'll start on June 2, 2021. There were 4 picks for the day. He went 1-3 with his only win being the New York Yankees defeating the Tampa Rays. The 3 L's you see are followed by a 1, which indicates the 1 unit loss for those games. The 0.75 you see next to the W is the units won from the correct pick of the Yankees moneyline, which means he picked them to win straight up. For every bet, I used the bottom option. There was no reason, I just wanted to be consistent. The Yankees finished as a -134 favorite. I used the odds converter chart to plug in -134 as the money line, and it spit out a decimal of 1.75. You subtract 1.0 because that's how many units were bet, and the result is 0.75. Don't worry, I'm not showing you every day's games. That would make this video more boring than a little Amish kid getting stuck in timeout. I just wanted to show you the precision I used to evaluate his picks. He got off to a rough start with 5 of his first 6 days in the negative. He was down 15.76 units overall in the first 6 days. If you signed up for his picks on June 2nd, you would have been down nearly 16% of your initial bankroll in the first week. For the first 16 days of June, he was down 14.89 units. For the second half of the month, he was up 15.72 units. He actually profited for the entire month as his picks were up 0.83 units. I did that for the 4.5 months I tracked the picks because I wanted a fair evaluation. Let's jump to the totals. Something that really surprised me is that he actually won over the time period. He not only won more than he lost, but he also was up on his units as well. Some of the fake guru sports bettors like Vegas Dave pick heavy favorites or use the martingale system to strategically show a high winning percentage, but they're actually down long term because of the juice the sportsbook takes. You're probably wondering why I made this video if this guy actually has a decent winning percentage. My source lost a lot of money. He was down really big using this guy's picks, and I'll show why in just a minute, and I'll break down the real numbers to show you why winning percentages with gambling can be misleading. When I first heard that someone had lost a lot of money using a guy's picks, I thought this would make for a great and interesting video. I thought I came across another fake guru. I spent many hours putting the spreadsheet together and tracking the wins and losses, and he won. I can't call him a fraud or a fake guru. My first intentions with this video were to show him losing money for clients, including my source. But he's up overall, so I have to be fair and say he was up over a good sample size. I pride myself on being fair, and I think it's only right that if I did all this research expecting to expose him, that I share that he was actually up over the time period. I sent him a DM the other day before I was given his picks, and he did send a poorly made image of his alleged winning for the year. He claims to be up 81.2 units for the year, but in the time period I tracked, he was up 3.89 units overall, even though his image claims to be up 37 units. So there seems to be a little discrepancy discrepancy between the promoted and the real. I have to give him flack for that. He sent another image that claims a gambler betting these amounts would be up to 81.2 units, and it's portrayed in dollar amounts. Again, this is misleading because I don't believe the numbers match up by a pretty wide margin. Let's take a deeper dive and see the reality of this experience. Here's a quick summary of the months I tracked. June, July, and September were profitable. August and October were not. I kept track of how many games were bet because that will be important in just a second. The first thing I have to give him credit for is he won a lot of games. Even though a lot of the games were favorites, he still won at a 54.87% win rate overall with a positive unit count. There's a few caveats that I have to present. One, the cost of his picks for a year is $1,000. This box says to break even, you'll need $25,706.94. I calculated this by using 1 unit as 1% of a bettor's bankroll, and so the unit size for each bet would be about $257.07, or the equivalent of 1% of the $25,000 starting bankroll. This is needed to cover the $1,000 sign-up fee. If your starting bankroll was less than $25,000 and you followed the 1 unit equals 1% criteria, you would still be down money overall. 2, the margins are tighter than you realize. This guy bet 421 games overall and was up 3.89 units. He wasn't immune to bad days. I think I counted something like 12 days where he was down 2 or more units. The day after my data concluded, if he was down 2 units, all of a sudden the results are a lot different than what I'm sharing in this video. The final day of my data set was October 12th, where he went 3-0 and was up a total of 2.19 units. If I wanted to fudge the numbers, I could have removed that day and he would have only been up 1.70 units in 4.5 months. By just removing that final day, this video could have shown that most of his customers with a bankroll of less than about $40,000 would have been down money with the cost of the picks included, but I didn't think that was fair to him. 3, this is assuming bettors bet the same amount every single day and were able to make every bet he promoted. He actually has a highlight on his IG stating that you should only be betting 1 unit on games unless told otherwise, so this critique isn't about him. This guy won 231 games. If you weren't able to get your pick in on time or you were busy one day, life happens, that could mean you're actually in the negative over the long haul because he did have a lot of winning days. That's obviously not his fault, but that's part of the game and part of evaluating if you'll actually make money with someone's picks. What my source did wrong was bet heavy when he first started and happened to catch the picks on a losing streak, so he was down big early. This leads me to 4, you might get caught on a cold streak. Sports gambling comes with hot streaks and cold streaks. There were weeks where he was down big. If you were like my source and continued betting larger amounts than recommended, you could find yourself in a huge hole. This isn't your daily capper's fault, but I'm just trying to show all of the hidden risks with this game that could lead to huge losses. 5, there's huge risk for very little reward. I showed a minute ago how someone would need a starting bankroll of nearly $26,000 to break even based on the cost of the picks and bankroll management. This same person would be wagering over $108,000 in order to break even. I calculated that by taking the unit size of $257 and multiplying by the total number of games bet. That's obviously not at once, but that's how much you wager over time in order to break even. Even for a bettor that wins, this is a lot of risk for very little reward in my eyes. 6, is this a great investment? Even with the respect he deserves as picking winners over the time I had data for, I'd still argue that you're better off putting money in an index fund, even if he's up 10 units for the year, which deserves huge respect because he would be one of very few. You're still arguably better off putting money into a much safer investment that requires no time and earns you just as much. 7, his lifestyle isn't from sports gambling winnings. I did the math on what someone would need to have as their bankroll in order to earn $50,000 per year, which is roughly the average salary in America right now. For a gambler that is up 3.89 units over a year, they need to have a starting bankroll of nearly $1.3 million and would need to wager a total of $5.4 million throughout the year. I'm only able to use 3.89 units because that's what I have, but let's say he finishes the year up 8 units, which is a fantastic year. That's still 8%. You don't get rich on 8% returns. If your starting bankroll was $50,000, that means you only profited $4,000 on the year. He doesn't flash like some of the other sports bettors, so I'm not really clowning on him. I just wanted to show you how ridiculous it is for the clowns I've made fun of in the sports betting industry to live a lavish lifestyle in sports betting. You have to be betting tens of millions of dollars to earn 6 figures, assuming you're one of the best. I'm sure some of you are disappointed that this wasn't a big fake guru video where I expose someone, but I put in a lot of work and found that he was a winner over a 4.5-month period, I think it's only fair that I show he was a winner. Let's say he is consistent and can be up 3 to 10 units a year, which by the way is excellent. It would certainly put him at the top of the food chain. I think there's still way too much risk, time, and energy put into earning those returns to justify pursuing it. One thing my helper at Run My Bets mentioned is that most civilians who go to casinos and lose their shirt are better off buying picks from someone like Your Daily Capper, even if they're technically down overall, because they lose a lot more picking their own games. This is certainly not a promotional video, as I think most people are better off spending their time building a business or side income instead of gambling on sports, but I think it's only fair that I give real data on someone instead of calling them a fake guru. It would be fascinating to track this guy's picks over a full year to see what the results are, to see if he actually has an edge. Thanks for watching.